may have seen some players firing lightning and fire out of their hands and wondered, how are they doing that? They're able to do that because of abilities, and you can use them as well. To get the abilities, first of all, you need to go to Tasm Town here. Once you're in Tasm, find your way to the trainer and interact with him and click the Study Abilities button. And there'll be a series of abilities that you can buy here. Now, you do need gold to buy all of these, and some of them are quite expensive, so bear that in mind. If you can't afford the gold for this, go into the trading guild and someone can probably sell you them for a bit of Tasm. Anyway, let's go through all of the abilities. I'm going to start with the magical abilities first. I have all of them on me at the moment. The current magical abilities are Lightning Strike, Fire Breath, Fire Bolt, and Fire Ball. Now, to use abilities, you need to put the abilities on your ability bar. Wow, I've said ability quite a lot of times there. So, you've got 2 spots for your abilities. I'll just unequip these so I can show you. These 2 book slots here are where your abilities go. Now, it's important which ability you put on which slot, and I'll tell you why. So, the second slot here is going to be your right click button. So if you want quick access to an ability, make sure you put it on the second slot. And then the other ability goes here. Now you can toggle through these by pressing 1, 2 and 3, or by having specific keybinds. Personally, I bound 1 and 3 to my mouse, don't need to bound 2 because that's right click. Your ability's damage is based off your overall damage output. It's usually some sort of damage multiplier. For example, with Lightning Strike, it's going to deal 130% of damage. So in my example here, I'm going to deal 130% of 873 damage. So your armor and weapons are going to massively affect the type of damage that you do. So bear that in mind when you're making a build. First ability we're going to test out is Lightning Strike. So it deals 130 damage to all enemies that are in a line. So the lightning bolt will shoot through any enemies in a row. If we can line up a couple of enemies here, see if I can. That's that one, and you see it hit a second one there. If we can get a few more lined up. Yep, there we go. Fire through all of them in a line. Now it does fire in a line, and you will damage enemies if they're slightly to either side of the lightning strike. But if they're far enough away, that lightning strike isn't going to deal any damage. Now the second ability, which is Fire Breath, doesn't have that problem. It deals 170% of damage, and it's more of a cone-shaped attack. So if we get some enemies here, we get them to all group up on us. See, even though they're a bit more spread out, it's a lot easier to hit them. Now this ability doesn't go as far as Lightning Strike, and it does use a lot more mana. So you're using 292 mana for this shot compared to the 107 mana for the basic Lightning Strike. For the last 2 magical abilities we have Fire Ball and Fire Bolt. Now, Fire Bolt is my personal favourite ability. It deals 230% of damage and it only costs 130 mana. Firebolt is different to all of the other magical abilities in that it isn't an area of effect damage, it's only a one-on-one attack ability. If I fight this way a bit here, see, there we go, deals absolutely loads of damage, but it's not going to deal any splash damage. The Fire Ball does deal some splash damage. Now it's kind of a bit of a mix. So if we look at the Lightning Strike and then the Fire Breath, it's going to deal the same amount of damage to any enemy that it hits. The Fire Ball doesn't. So the first hit it's going to deal 160 damage, but then its area of effects damage is going to be 80% of damage. If we find an orc, if we can bunch them together, I'll show you what I mean. Get them all in here. There we go. See, main damage deals a lot more than the splash damage, but the splash damage is still pretty high. So that's all of the magical abilities. Now to use magical abilities you do need to have a magical weapon, so you do need a staff. The same goes for the agility abilities and the strength abilities. So for any range attacks you are going to need to have a bow, and for any of the melee attacks you are going to need a strength weapon. Moving on to the agility abilities, we have multi-shot, piercing shot and exploding arrow. I've already got multi-shot, so I'll buy piercing shot and exploding arrow. There's 6,000 coins down the drain. Like I was saying before, I do need to have a range build in order to fire these. So I will just equip all of my range. Let's start with piercing shot and multi-shot. Now I am going to need to switch my skill class, as I was all in magic. Let's just bump all of my abilities into agility. And voila, there we go. I am now a range build. Let's just put the piercing shot in here. So starting with the multi-shot, it's going to fire 5 arrows in an arc, and each one is going to deal 50% of damage. So for me, that's 50% of 350. Let's try it out. Oh, right. I don't have enough mana. I'm glad that this happened, because I do need to explain how mana works in this. So each of the abilities does have a certain amount of mana that you need in order to fire them. Now, when you're using magical abilities with a mage build, it's not too much of a problem as you have loads of mana anyway. But when you are using a strength build or an agility build, it's more of an issue because less of the weapons and armor actually give you mana. So when you're using some of these classes, it can actually be an idea to put a little bit of your skills into intelligence, so you do get a little bit of a mana boost. That's what I'm going to do here. So if I go back to here, I need 150 mana to fire the shot. I only have 100 at the moment. If I forget my skills again, and I'll just bump summon to intelligence until I get 150. Ah, there we go. Right, now I'll put the remainder into agility. And now I'll put a bit more in there. And now I should be able to fire. Let's try this again. Ah, there we go. Look at that. Firing 5 arrows in an arc. Not bad. Now, another thing with mana, even if you do get enough mana, if you don't have any mana regen, you're going to be in a bit of trouble. It is important that you have mana regen as well, because you don't want to be in an awkward situation where you do have 160 mana, you can fire the shot, but you have nothing to regen it, so you can't really use the attack again. My armor here has some mana steal and mana regen, so it's not too much of a problem. So do keep an eye out for items and armor that have a mana boost and mana regen as well, especially if you're using a range or a melee build. Going on to the other ability, which is piercing shot here. This is similar to the lightning strike in that it will just fire through enemies. Oh no, wrong attack. Ah, there we go. So this is piercing strike. Does exactly the same thing as the lightning strike. Our last ranged ability is exploding arrow. This is similar to fireball in that the first shot is going to do more damage, and then the second shot is an area of effect damage that is slightly less. So the primary damage is going to be 100%, and then it's going to deal 50% in area of effect damage. If I fire it here, see, there we go. First shot does more than the second area of effect shot. Last but not least, we have our strength abilities, which are Deadly Strike, Cleave, War Cry, and Whirlwind. I start with the basic strikes. You've got Deadly Strike, pretty simple. It deals 1-on-1 damage, and it's going to be 150% of your normal damage. So my normal damage is 732. This should deal a fair bit of damage. There we go. So it's dealing over 1000 damage there. The second basic attack is Cleave. It's an area of effect damage which deals 100% of your damage. Go over here. See, there we go. It deals damage in an arc. So whatever your arc is, that's going to be where the damage is dealt. Previous two attacks only cost 50 and 67 mana, so absolutely anybody can use them without needing any intelligence upgrades or any mana items. The next two abilities do cost more mana, so you will need to think about how you're going to get that mana and how you're going to regen it as well. Now, War Cry is an interesting damage, so it only deals 50% of your normal damage. However, it does slow down the enemies, so it is very useful for horde control. If I find a group of enemies, I can show you. I get all these werebears on me. There we go. You see, they've slowed down in their attack. Deals a fair bit of damage as well. And you've got the Whirlwind ability, which deals 100% of your normal damage. However, it does have area effect damage for all around your character. But I go into these werebears again. I swing. There we go. Kills absolutely everything around me. And that's it. That's the preview for all of the abilities. I will be making videos in the future going into specific builds and giving you a bit more detail on how you can use the abilities in conjunction with armor and weapons. If you do want to buy the abilities, again, go to the trainer. If you can't afford them, ask in the trading guild and someone will be able to sell you them for some TASM or for any other items. If you are looking for some good armor and weapon builds as well, same place, trading guild. Link for the guild is in the description of the video.